Hello everyone, I hope you're doing good and staying safe. Welcome to SimpliCode's YouTube channel. I hope the audio is fine and you're able to see the screen clearly. I see only a few folks have joined the session, so let us just wait for another 5 to 10 seconds so that everyone will join us. So in the meantime guys, we have regular updates on our channel on different technologies. So if you're a tech geek and love watching tech videos, consider getting subscribed to our channel SimpliCode to stay updated with all the latest technologies. And also hit that bell icon to never miss an update from us. Well, I see most of you have joined the session. I think we are good to go now. So let us get started. Now, in order to understand how to delete these duplicate records in SQL, let us jump straight into MySQL Workbench for execution part. So I hope you are able to see the MySQL Workbench window. And as you can see, the MySQL Workbench has started. And on the left side, you can see the SimpliCode database where we have different tables such as Crypto 2022, Customer, Department, Employee 4, Employee 3, and so on. Right, now before we get into the execution part wherein we'll discuss how to delete the duplicates in SQL, let us understand why there are actually duplicate records in SQL. Now, as you know, sometimes you might see more than one copy of the same record appearing in your MySQL database table. Now, this usually happens after importing data from external sources such as spreadsheet applications like Excel or from external websites like Kaggle and etc., which do not have the features of relational databases, right? So having these identical copies of the same record may negatively affect your application and your business logic. So to overcome these challenges, you must need to delete the duplicate records from your table. Now, only rarely you will find to remove duplicate entries from a table, because the tables in these databases generally have this constraints such as primary key or unique constraints to prevent these duplicate entries occurring in the first place. But due to some mistakes, or the duplicates can get into properly designed table wherein this is due to changes in the business side, where after merging of two or more different systems or data from two or more different tables, will have this duplicate data in our tables. So in this session, we'll look at some of the ways to remove duplicate records from the table in SQL, right? So I've already created tables and inserted some values in it as well as some duplicate values also. So let us consider firstly the employee 4 table here. Let me just display the records. So use the select statement which is select star from employee 4. So let us execute this statement and we'll see the output. Right, now employee 4 table has various columns such as employee ID, first name, last name, email, phone number, hiring date, job ID, salary, manager ID, and finally department ID. Now there are different ways to delete the duplicate records, so we'll discuss one by one each. So firstly, we can delete the duplicate records using the group by and having function. So let us understand the syntax first. Now before we get into the execution part, you'll have to understand how to fetch the duplicate records from the database table, right? So for that, we'll use the following query as select first name, comma last name, which are basically the columns, and I'll use the count function, which will basically count all the duplicate values that are present in our employee 4 table. Mention the table name, and we'll use the group by function. Group by, mention the column names you want to group, which is basically the first name and the last name, right? Having count, mention the star operator greater than 1, right? Let us now execute this statement and we'll see the output. So as you can clearly see in our resultant set, we have a total of 5 records such as Donald O'Connell, Jennifer Wallin, Michael Hastings, Herman Baer, and finally Alexander Hunold, where their records in the employee table have been repeated. For example, Donald O'Connell records have been repeated 3 times here, and similarly we have Jennifer Wallen's 2, Michael Hastings 2 times, again Herman's Baer was also 2 times, and finally Alexander Hunold is also 4 times, right? Now that we have understood how to find the duplicate records that are present in our table, let us now understand how to delete. Now the query for that would be delete from, mention the table name, which is employee 4, where employee ID not in. So let us first understand the syntax, then I'll clearly explain how it actually works. So select, which is a subquery now, use the max function, mention the employee ID column name, close the parenthesis from employee 4, and you can use the group by function as well. So we'll group by the first name and the last name here. And close the brackets right there. So let us now execute this statement and we'll see the output. There is an error in the code which says you can't specify the target table employee 4 for update in from clause. Well guys, I think there is an issue in the backend. Maybe there's a error in the code, but I think the logic is correct here. So what this query actually does is it basically executes the inner query first, which is it selects maximum employee ID from the employee table, right? And it will display all those records. Now it will delete all the records in the employee 4 table whose employee is not in the maximum value, such as if I have, let's say 104 is the maximum value, and if I have 101, 102 or 103, which are basically the duplicate records. So it will basically delete all those records, right? So this is how it will delete the duplicate records in the SQL. I don't know why it is showing error, but we'll get back to you again with the right code. So this is one of the way to actually delete the duplicate rows from the SQL using the group by and having function. So let us now understand a different scenario where you'll use another method here. We can also delete the duplicate records using the delete join statement. Okay, so for that the query would be delete. Now I'll first let me write the query and then we'll understand how the syntax works. So delete, I'm taking an alias name for a table employee. So I'm taking as E1 from employee 4, which is the table, right, as E1, and I'm joining the table employee 4 as E2, where E1 dot employee ID is less than E2 dot employee ID, and E1 dot first name is equals to E2 dot first name. Right, so this is our query now. So let us understand how this actually works here, right? So now basically we are this query is referencing this employee 4 table twice, and therefore we'll use this table alias as E1 and E2, and after this executing the statement we'll get the following output as. So let us see the output and we'll understand. It's showing an error which is okay, employee underscore ID it is. So as you can see in our output, total 8 rows have been affected. Now let us understand how this query is working, right? Now I've taken 2 similar tables here, that is basically the one table. I'm referencing it twice here. So basically it will delete all the rows which are less than the values that are present in the employee 2 table here. So let me just display the values again so that we'll have a clear idea. Select star from employee 4 table. So as you can see now, previously we had the repetition of certain records. For example, Douglas Grant we had, and similarly we had Alexander Hunold, and for similarly Herman Bernos. After execute this statement, we have only a single record where all the existing duplicate records have been successfully deleted. So in this way you can use the delete join statement as well to delete the duplicate records from your table. Now the next method to delete these duplicate records is using the row number function. Now row number function is basically a SQL ranking function, guys, that will assign a sequential rank number to each record in a partition. Now, when this SQL row number function detects any two identical values, or let's say duplicate values in the same partition, it assigns different rank numbers to both. And this rank number will be determined by the sequence in which they are being displayed. I know this might sound a bit confusing, so let us understand the query and see how it exactly works. So the query is followed as select employee ID, comma first name. So basically display all the columns that you want in a resultant table. Last name, mention the row number function, sorry guys, row number function over partition is the keyword, partition by is the keyword, and we are partitioning using the first name here, right? So mention the column name as first name, and similarly we'll also mention the order by clause, mention the first name again as, now let us give an alias name for this. Let's say we'll take it as row underscore num. Mention the table name, that is employees. So let us consider another table here which is employees 3. Right. So this is our query. So let us understand what exactly this syntax is all about. Now we are using the over keyword here, which basically is a clause which specifies the windows or set of rows that the window function operates, and the partition by and order by are the two possible clauses of the over clause. And next we have the partition by keyword, which is an optional clause in the row number function. It is basically a clause that divides the result set into partitions. Now the row number method is then applied to each partition, which assigns a separate rank number to each partition. And if the partition by clause is not specified, the row number function will treat the entire result as a single partition and rank it from top to bottom. And finally, we also have order by clause we are using here, which is the clause it allows the user to order the rows in the resultant set. So I hope you've understood this. So let us now execute this statement and we'll see the output. Right. Now, as you can see in our resultant set, we have details of an employee, Alexander Hunold, whose employee ID is 103 here, which has been repeated for 4 times here, right? So in this way, the row number function will assign values in a sequential manner starting from 1. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. That is basically 4 different values. Now again, we do not have a repetition of this value. So again, it is mentioning, or it is assigning 1 as value for the next record. Now similarly, we have Bruce Ernest as only 1 record. So we have row number as 1. Now next we have Donald O'Connell, whose records are again repeated thrice here, right? You can see here. So the row number function assigns the values as 1, 2, 3. So similarly, for all the rest of the records that are present in the table, it assigns the value in a sequential order on the number of times it has been repeated. So now that we've added the partitions and the row numbers to the our resultant set, let us now understand how to delete these duplicate records. Now the syntax for that would be delete from employee 3, which is the table name. Employee 3, where employee ID in, now within the parenthesis we'll write a subquery here, which is basically select all the employee IDs from, mention another subquery here, which is basically the previous query that we have written here. So we'll just write it again. Select employee ID, comma first name, comma last name, and mention the row number function over partition by is the keyword, first name Again, we'll use the order by clause for the first name again. And we'll give an alias name for this sub table, which is row num. From employee 3 table. And for this outer part of the query, we'll give another temporary name, let's say temp table, where row number is basically greater than 1. So what this query does is basically it will check all the values, and it will see that for all the values which is having row number greater than 1. For example, we have for Alexander Hunold, we have row numbers has 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it will remain this the first record as it is, and it will delete the remaining records. For example, the records having Alexander Hunold as row number function 2, 3, 4 will be deleted, and similarly for Donald O'Connell 2, 3, the row numbers will be deleted. So let us now execute this statement and we'll see the output. It is showing an error again, so let me just make some changes. Well, the query is actually correct, guys. I don't know why it is showing the error here. Okay, I forgot to close the parenthesis here, right? So that was my mistake, sorry. So let's now execute this statement and we'll see the output. I3 3, I think the employee table name has been returned wrong, right? So let us execute this statement and we'll see the output now. So our query has been successfully executed, guys, and we can see that 13 rows have been affected. So let us now use the select statement again, and we'll see the records whether the duplicate records have been deleted or not. So select star from employee 3 table. Right, so clearly you can see that in a resultant set we have all the duplicate values that have been successfully deleted permanently. So in this way you can use the row number function as well to delete the duplicate records in your SQL table. So that brings us to the end of today's session, guys. That was all about how to delete the duplicate records or rows from the SQL tables. I hope you understood how to implement this. Thank you for watching the video, guys. I hope you've found this tutorial informative and helpful. And if you did, make sure to leave us a like and share it with your friends and colleagues. If you have any further queries regarding any of the topic that was covered in today's session, feel free to let us know in the comment section below, and a team of experts will be more than happy to help resolve all your queries at the earliest. We also have a special dedicated playlist on SQL where we've discussed various SQL topics in detail with execution in MySQL Workbench, so make sure you check that out. I'll see you guys next time, guys. Until next time, stay safe and keep coding.